Great, thank you. So next I'd like to have Dr. Dousman come up and talk to us about this example.
Thank you so much, Anita and Stefan. All right. Good morning. You have the slides? Awesome, thank you. All right, thank you. I am with the Water Institute, and I appreciate you inviting me to speak on this case study. It's already in the catalog. If we head over the Atlantic Ocean to the United States, you'll head to Louisiana. And in Louisiana, we have an area called the Capital Area Groundwater District. It has a population of about 650,000 people, and it's about 6,300 square kilometers. There's a confined aquifer there called the Southern Hills Aquifer System that supplies water for both drinking and industry, public supply and industry. In 2020, withdrawals were approximately 140 million gallons a day, with about 60% of that groundwater being used for public supply and 40% for industry. This aquifer was once an artesian aquifer that now has a cone of depression. So an artesian aquifer, if you were to poke into it, right, it would flow freely. And now it has a cone of depression where you have water levels that are now below land surface as great as negative 33 meters or so. So the aquifer system is a series of sands and confining units. And these sands and confining units in the aquifer system that supply, you can see the wells that come down, and they are threatened by saltwater intrusion that comes across the fault on the right. And so due to that cone of depression and the saltwater intrusion, you have a threat to that aquifer system. So the aquifer, as a result of these problems, the Capital Area Groundwater Conservation Commission was created in 1974. It has 18 commissioners, and it was developed to provide for efficient administration, conservation, and orderly development and supplementation of the groundwater resources. They are a range of representatives that manage this aquifer, but because of conflicts on the commission, they've had trouble managing and making decisions, and they do not have a long-term strategic plan for conservation. The Water Institute is an independent applied nonprofit research institute. And so they started working with the commission in 2019, utilizing structured decision-making to do long-term strategic planning. The work is to facilitate this commission to work through conflict in making decisions, develop policies, and putting those into practice based on sound science and data. Structured decision-making uses a formulation called PROACT, first defining the problem and the decision context with these decision makers. What decisions are they trying to make, understanding their legal authority and policy context, and taking into account the population and the economic growth. Next, in the PROACT cycle, we worked with the commissioners to define the fundamental objectives. What are they trying to achieve in the next 50 years? Noting that in structured decision-making, it's okay to incorporate values in competing objectives. So as long as it's an open and transparent process. So for this commission, they included sustainable groundwater withdrawals, water for both drinking and industry, reducing saltwater intrusion, as well as acknowledging the risks related to subsidence. Next, the commission has identified feasible, cost-effective, and reasonable alternatives that can be used to achieve the objectives. Those alternatives are currently being discussed with the commissioners for evaluation. Then you go to models and science, which are being developed and used to forecast the consequences of various alternatives. For example, groundwater availability, but also the economic effects of these alternatives, looking at population growth and changing water demand over time. The next step in the PROACT cycle is what we call trade-offs and optimization, related to forecasting the consequences of the alternatives and the fundamental objectives. It not only includes science and data, but also legal and policy research. You can also incorporate uncertainty explicitly into thinking through the decision-making process. So after the trade-offs is provided to the commission, the last step in the cycle is for them to decide and take action. These actions are made in a public, transparent manner informed by the work of the prior work related to the PRO-Act cycle. So structured decision-making using PRO-Act can help any community in the world work through challenging groundwater management problems in a productive manner based on science, data, values, the economy, legal and policy understanding. And I'd like to end with a quote with one of our commissioners, who is also a decision maker. Having been involved for nearly a decade now in regional groundwater management issues, I can unequivocally say that this is the way forward in answering the complex questions that we face. Thank you very much for having me. I encourage you all to go to the groundwater catalog and take a look at what we've provided, but also contribute.